What are you doing there?
None of your fucking business.
Alright, here we go again. More politics, rules, and pistol brace stuff. Hopefully this is the last one of these videos we have to do for a while. We can just get back to doing some cooler stuff. But the ATF's FFL training on the pistol brace BS has been completed by Karma. So we have her to answer some questions and give us the down low on what the ATF themselves said. So,
all right. So like you said, the ATF held some trainings this week for FFLs, but it was good information for FFLs as well as for consumers. You can find the PowerPoint presentation on the ATF's website. You go to atf.gov, you can type in the search bar stabilizing brace, and it will come up with the PowerPoint that they used for their training, as well as the frequently asked questions that they have on there that have been updated since they originally put them out. Now, they do not have any audio recording from their trainings, which is unfortunate because most of the information that was clarified came from the audio.
Convenient. Not unfortunate, convenient.
Okay, so the final rule was published in the Federal Register on January 31st. So that's technically your start date. 120 days is how long they're giving you to get a free tax stamp if you decide to do a Form 1. And that would expire on May 31st, 2023. So most of you know, probably all of you know, the options already that the ATF has given. You can destroy your firearm. You can turn it in to your local ATF agent. You can remove the pistol brace. You can remove the short barrel and replace it with a 16-inch barrel if that qualifies for the overall length, or you can register it. And that's what the 120 days is of the free tax stamp if you register it. Now, some people, when they came out with this on January 13th, some people jumped the gun and went to their ATF website, to the e-forms, and started the process already. So if you already started the process, you're not going to get denied just because you did it early. And in fact, if you have a form submitted and you didn't get the $200 tax stamp waived, you can withdraw your form and then resubmit so that you get it waived. Apparently that's the way that you can get a refund according to the ATF. Now, saying that, I'm not recommending that that's what you do. I'm giving you your options. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm just letting you know the information as an FFL holder and as a gun owner and citizen of the United States. I'm just giving you information. You have to make the choice for yourself. So, let's see here.
I mean, a 16-inch barrel MP5 sounds so cool.
If you decide to register, you which would be a Form 1, you can do a paper form, but they prefer to do the e-forms. There is no ETA on when it'll get approved. They said that several times. They apparently have used extra resources that they gained internally, that was asked, to make sure that they're only working on this, and this is not going to make your Form 4 or your regular Form 1s that are already in process. It's not going to, supposedly not going to make that process any longer. They say that this will be kept totally separate on its own little thing. There's its own separate button on the eForms website to go submit this. So
They found something to do with all those extra IRS agents, it sounds like.
they did not specify when asked where the extra resources came from. They just said it was internal. Some people have wondered about an 88-day, that they had 88 days to prove it. They said that only applies to FBI background checks. And then again, that's the research period for the FBI. And then they reiterated there's no ETA on these E-Form 1s. So your form doesn't have to be approved within the 120 days. It just needs to be submitted within the 120 days. Let's see here.
While you're waiting for your approval to come back because you chose to register, what are you supposed to do if you get stopped on their undisclosed amount of time to complete it? How do you prove that you're...
That's a good question. So when you do e-forms, you're going to get an email back that says submitted. It's basically a copy of your form, and it shows it's been submitted. So they want you to keep that with it. You can keep the pistol brace on. Just keep the submitted form for proof that you have completed the submit your form. I said that funny. Okay, let's see. If you decide to submit a Form 1, once it's been approved, you can change a pistol brace to whatever stock you want. It's just an SBR. You can do whatever stock you want. You can keep the brace if you want. You can change it to a different stock. That doesn't matter. So say that you don't want to register it. You don't want to turn it into an SBR. What are your options then? So you can put a 16-inch barrel on there, or you can remove the brace. So in talking about that, there were some questions about, do you have to destroy the brace? Do you have to destroy the buffer tube? What do you have to do? According to the ATF, they do not, what's the word?
Care, want to
No.
talk about?
No. They don't regulate. The ATF doesn't regulate accessories, according to them. So once you take it off of your AR pistol, it's just an accessory. They don't regulate it. You do not have to destroy it. Now, you can't just remove it and then put your AR pistol and the brace together in your safe. That would be something, what's that called?
Constructive intent.
Constructive
It's basically an intent to run an SBR. So I can keep my pistol in my desk drawer and go put my pistol brace in the freezer, and that's okay?
Well, they did not get into specifics.
Oh, yeah.
But they said if you keep it with your AR pistol, if you keep your brace with your AR pistol, that is constructive, could be considered constructive possession of an SBR. You can buy an AR pistol, you can buy a pistol brace, because people can still sell them as pistol braces. It makes them just an accessory. However, if you have the two together, that is constructive possession, or could be construed as constructive possession of an SBR. So
could be construed as, so it's up to them when they walk in.
Yes, they said there are a lot of factors that go into it. It's basically a case-by-case basis. So, again, we're not advising you to go one way or the other. We're just giving you information. So buffer tube is okay to leave on. There were some questions about that. The buffer tube does not qualify under the part where they talk about the space. What was that?
Surface area?
The surface area. The surface area, if there's surface area that provides for the shouldering of the firearm. So they're saying the buffer tube does not apply there because the buffer tube is needed for the functionality of the firearm. Now, if you add an accessory, any accessory to your buffer tube, that's a no-go. So the fin type of braces that have the sleeve that goes on the buffer tube, you can't leave the sleeve on. You can have just a standard buffer tube. It can have, the bumps on there. It can have the padding on there that some of them, used to have. Can have notches. That's the word I was thinking of. So your buffer tube can have notches or padding, but you can't add any accessories on there. So as far as if you are registering it, normally when you register a Form 1, you have to have new NFA markings engraved on it. There's an exception to that regarding this ruling. If your lower is already engraved, you can use the same when filling out your paperwork, the same manufacturer, the same model, same caliber, everything like that. There's no need to become the manufacturer of it.
So 5 years down the road, when you get questioned on it, how they distinguish if your SBR was SBR during this period, and it's okay, or if it was prior, they're gonna, I mean, it's gonna be up to their discretion at the time.
Well, you're also supposed to have proof. So you're supposed to have proof.
So is a tax stamp gonna look different for these things, potentially?
They did not say that. But they did say if it's removed from that configuration, so if a customer brings it in, say into a FFL for gunsmithing, they can, even if it is an SBR, even if they've SBR'd it, if they take the pistol brace off and bring you in the lower, even though that lower was registered as an SBR, in that configuration, it is not an SBR. It would just be a receiver. So you can send a letter to the NFA branch if you decide to not use it as an SBR anymore and have it removed from the registry. But you don't have to. Once it's removed, once that configuration is removed, it's no longer an SBR in that, depending on the configuration you have it in. According to the ATF.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because the ATF also says that the lower receiver with the holes and everything in it is the firearm, has to be serialized. This is like the important part.
Yeah, so that also they talked about if your firearm is a personally made firearm that I know we've been talking about recently, and you go to SBR it so you can keep your pistol brace on there, you have to get markings on it at that point in regards to the last final ruling that they made about marking your lowers.
That's not what I was getting at. I was getting at them flip-flopping, saying this is your regulated
I
part.
know.
And now they're saying, well, if you separate it, now it's not NFA regulated.
I'm not here to argue. I'm just giving you information.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying. It's ridiculous.
Now the question came up, are there braces out there that are approved? They said yes. However, they don't know of any on the market right now. They said the original prototype that was approved is still okay for use. And which we should go into, the question's been asked, if you're using it because you have a disability in the way it was originally intended, does that mean you can go ahead and keep using it? Nope. No, you have to register it as SBR unless you are using that original prototype. Which I might add, they have lots of pictures in this little PowerPoint that they made. They have pictures of the original that was approved. They have pictures of the surface area that they talk about. They have several braces stacked up so you can see what kind of surface area they're talking about. So I encourage you to go on there, flip through the slideshow and also the frequently asked questions because they're pretty interesting.
They aren't interesting. They will keep you up at night worrying about everything.
They could. But yeah, I would recommend you read it. Now, if you take your firearm in to a gunsmith, to an FFL, you either need to bring your submitted form or your tax stamp once it's approved, if you're bringing it in the configuration of an SBR, or bring it in without the pistol brace. Now, say you have a gun that's already at a gunsmith's shop or that you've ordered but haven't taken possession of yet. You haven't done your 4473. The FFL cannot transfer it to you in that configuration. They use that word a lot. So the FFL would have to remove the brace or put a 16-inch barrel on there and then transfer it as a pistol or rifle or lower if that's what you were doing.
But because it's legal to sell braces, they could take the brace off, sell it to you, then ring up another ticket and sell you a brace, and it's up to you to go do whatever you want.
Well, that question was asked, and they recommended you talk to your legal counsel because you can't sell a brace and an AR pistol in the same transaction. That would be like whatever that is, a constructive possession. Okay. But they did mention, that you could potentially sell an accessory to someone who has already bought an AR pistol from you.
Potentially sell an accessory.
But they suggested you talk to your legal counsel about that because you don't want to be getting into any trouble. So, if you already have, and they even mentioned pawn shops, if you have your AR pistol with a brace at an FFL or pawn shop, they can't give it back to you in that configuration. So, there it is. Also, if you decide to do your Form 1, and you have a gun trust, which I know a lot of you do, the lower or the AR pistol has to be registered, has to be written on your Schedule A on your trust. It has to show that the trust owned that firearm before January 31st. Otherwise, you don't qualify for the tax stamp, the $200 tax stamp waiver. You would have to register it as an individual to get that $200 fee waived, and then you'd have to form for it to the trust. So this applies, they mentioned this applies only to firearms you actually own before January 31st. You can't go out and buy a new one and then try and get a $200 tax stamp for free. Couple more things. If you live in a state where they have SBR ban, you can go ahead and submit your paperwork. You'll get denied. This would not relieve you from that law. State laws apply. So that applies also for under 21. That they brought that up. You can go ahead and register, but state laws apply as far as that goes. There was a question that came up about imported pistols or imported braces. They said you can register imported pistols with a brace. The same options apply. However, you cannot make new ones. That's all they said about
Doesn't
it.
that go against what they have in their frequently asked questions already?
Well,
there's a statement in there already about this.
They have revised their frequently asked questions
They
to make
revised
it more
They
clear.
changed their discretion.
Which that came up another time that they can do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we know they can do that.
you can still buy a lower receiver with a pistol brace attached, like a completed lower, as long as it would just be transferred as a receiver. You wouldn't be buying an AR pistol, you would be buying a receiver. How you decide to build that out is up to you, whether you decide to build it out as a pistol with a SBR registry, or if you decide to build it out as a rifle. But you can buy a completed lower with a brace on it still. So, yeah,
That it?
I think that about covers it.
I've heard enough. All right, as always, thank you for watching. If you like our videos, subscribe, share. I'm sure people have comments or questions. Put them down in there in the bottom. On this video in particular, we'll have Karma take a look at those, and she can help us answer some of those. She does have some more information here. Everybody should go watch this PowerPoint and all this for themselves, because there was a lot of information in there that we couldn't cover. So thanks again for watching. One more time, Aim for the Face t-shirts are on our website. We'll put a link, maybe we'll put a link somewhere. And as far as the free tax stamp, nothing's free in this world.